Greetings and salutations. Time for the all-important sip of espresso. And the reason it's extra important, of course, is that Mondays, my day starts at 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning. Carl comes, picks me up, takes me off to Talk TV Studios. I'm on air at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I get home about 4 in the morning. Nice. It's good. Hello, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. What's left of him is espresso fueled. This is, of course, The Daily Show with exclusively on Men's Radio Station. Have you noticed? Look, I trimmed the moustache. So I've gone from full Stalin to sort of early Charles Bronson. That's the way that I'm looking at it. If only I needed a clock, Robert Van Buren. Hello, Russ. Now, you know him. You love him. He's a complicated man, but no one understands him like his woman, John Shaft.
Ladies, good to have you tuned in this afternoon.
Ladies. Who's the man who acts as a sex machine for all the chicks? Neil Young.
Can you dig it?
Can you imagine doing a song like that? I don't know. I don't listen to hip hop because I can't stand it. But can you imagine doing those lyrics now in 2022? It'd be hilarious.
I know. It would seem somewhat dated, probably.
Do you think? I think they should bring back On the Buses and Love Thy Neighbour. That's what they should be doing. Bloody marvellous. Keith Lemon and Love Thy Neighbour. With Idris Elba. I just made that up.
No, I'd have Stephen K. Amos.
Okay, I love him. I love Stephen K. Amos.
I know him personally. He used to do a comedy gig weekly, and we used to go and see him every week. He's a fantastic comedian.
Isn't he hilarious?
Yeah, really nice guy too.
David Wimble, he was the Grand Fromage of Deluxe Radio. Hi to everybody. About 70,000 of you listening now on Deluxe Radio, which is why we read out the comments, because obviously on radio you can't see them. I don't know how many times a day I have to explain that. Anyway, and he said, David Wimble, the Grand Fromage, says, good morning, Mr. K. Looking forward to catching up tomorrow. Yes, we've got a little side project going on. Quite excited. It's something I've always wanted to kind of
Why was I not informed of this?
Well, funny enough, you might get involved. Why are you not involved?
Whoa, joke.
It's something I wanted to do because I love heavy rock and metal. That's what I like. I like Sinatra and stuff like that, and Tony Bennett, but I also love heavy rock and heavy metal. And so Wimble and I are putting together, we haven't quite sort of something like Russ Kane's Rock Show or something. It's just pure rock. Yes, banger after banger after banger. It's going to be great.
Well, if you need any DJs, I know two superb rock DJs, not me.
Well, we're going to record the shows, and I'm going down to, I don't know the hell I'm going, somewhere on a train, so I'm already lost. Hello to the lovely Linda Dave. Greetings to you both. Greetings to you. I hope that Boy Wonder had a lovely, lovely birthday. 36. Linda is heading for 40. And hello, everybody. Peeps, they've seen my row there. What's that? Neil can come. Wait, Neil can too. Yeah. Oh, no, you can do your own show, Neil. That's a good idea. I'll speak to you after.
I'm not a rock DJ. I know people that will be better than me.
No, I got an idea. Phone me after the show. And let's dash across to the United States of Chaos. Oh, boy, your midterms. He's going to get his ass handed to him, because in November it's going to be an absolute massacre. Good day, all. That's Aza Don Brown. Right, let's get on with our first guest of the week, who's very patiently been sitting in the digital green room. But I have to say, Neil, your selection of fresh pastries today were magnificent.
I did myself.
I know. They're light. I could see that Nina's enjoying them. They're light. They're fluffy, freshly brewed coffee. You are the best guy. Let's welcome. Here she is, Nina. Hello. How are you?
Hi guys. I'm great. Thank you.
Well, define great, Nina. Come on, define great.
Define great. Well, I'm always great. I'm one of those people that wakes up super happy and normally goes to bed super happy.
Could you tell me the name of your doctor? Because I want those meds. I want those meds immediately. Do you really? That's fantastic.
It's just an appreciation of life.
I just wake up and go, well, here. Oh, we can build from that. It's great. Right, Nina, tell us all about yourself.
I know your name. Well, I've come across you before, Nina, actually. Hello there.
Hi, yes, you have. So I'm Nina Olk. I'm known best
Thank
for
God
my.
you told me how to pronounce it, because for weeks,
It's not an easy one.
every time we exchange emails where we're sorting out guests and schedules, I'm going, I please God, let her pronounce her name, because I am not even going to try.
Yeah, I think it's made up. I think my father made it up just to test us a little bit. But no, it's got every vowel except E, which is my fun fact. But I'm Nina Olk, yeah. So I'm I'm best known as London's life coach. A title that was bestowed upon me, and I kindly attached it and trademarked it as quickly as I could. I coach UFC fighters, MMA fighters, boxers, some rather well-known people with their mindset. So I'm a mindset performance coach, and I help them with strategies when they've come out of a career to go into another one. The other
Now,
side,
Nina, I hate to jump in, but we need your help straight away. Neil phoned me over the weekend, and for reasons that only he knows, he is going into the cage with Conor McGregor in a week's time.
Are you really?
And
Well,
he
I know
said
that
he
camp.
absolutely he said he is convinced he's going to beat Conor McGregor.
Hmm.
There's no ifs or buts. I need you, maybe during the show, maybe afterwards. You're going to have to coach him with an
I
emergency.
think you misunderstood me, Russ. I said I booked you in.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. I could take him with one hand behind my back.
Connor's coach, Owen Roddy, is one of my clients. He's a strike coach. He has two main coaches. And with Owen, we've gone on to a path of, developing his own branding. He's developed a glove, which is amazing. It's called Shadow Fight Goods. It's all about mental health too for men, which is what I'm an advocate for, stepping out of the shadows into your light. And these gloves are manufactured and created in such a way where you have the tightness of a strap glove, but it's with the elasticator. It's a special thing they've created, and it's amazing.
You ever done QVC, Nina? Because she'd be really good. I'm telling you that now.
I'm excited about his product, so it's something that I actually.
This shirt comes in 3 different
I
colorways.
mean, you've got the most incredible story. I remember. So let's hear all about you.
Tell us all about yourself. I'm in awe of the fact that you're anything to do with MMA. If you don't know what it is, gang, and some people would go, what is this? Is this like a car recovery service or something? It's mixed martial arts. I've never seen it. It is horrendously violent, horribly entertaining. It is really panem et circenses. It truly is. And in case people think, oh, poor sausages reduced to that, these guys are making, I mean, some of them are making up to 50 million a flight. 50 million per fight.
Yeah.
Don't feel sorry for them.
Well, they're actually very gentle people. On screen, what you see isn't always what you get behind the screen.
What? When you attack when you attack a tour bus and smash the glass in with bins, that didn't look too gentle to me, Nina.
Well, the ones I deal with, the ones I have associations with, are extremely lovely people. I do choose who I work with. Energy is everything, and I don't really condone violence outside of those sort of scenarios. So I'm very careful. But the other side of me, I think that Neil's trying to get into, is that I'm an activist. I speak out against honor killings. For those of you who don't know what an honor killing is, it's where girls are killed because of a culture, not often a religion, although it can be religious. It's usually a culture that believes the girl has done something untoward and caused a disrespect to the family. So it's all about withholding the honor in the community. I survived one when I was 21 years old, where my parents broke my arm and my jaw.
Oh my God.
And then when I did fall, they completely beat me and broke my hip, stamping upon me and throwing down their heavy insults, which carry probably more weight than the actual beating itself, because it breaks a person's mentality.
How's it Christmas Day around the table at your place?
I don't have anything to do with them now.
Christ.
I'm an outcast now. I've spoken out about this, so it makes you.
But it's normally over the most innocuous things, like the outrageous desire just to be free and make your own choices, isn't it? That is considered dishonor, isn't it? I mean, the very term honor killing is an oxymoron.
It's disgusting.
No honor in it.
Sorry,
well, my TED Talk's called "There Is No Honor in Killing," and I'm
Exactly.
not sure if you've seen it. Yeah, you might have seen it, Pete. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, Neil may have seen it possibly. But they are there is no honor in killing, but it's a very common thing. And everyone said to me, did it happen in India? Did it happen in Pakistan? Did it happen in the Arabian states, sort of Arab states? But it happened in Leicester, which is central of England, the United Kingdom. And it happened quite a while ago, because now I'm 52 years young. But the thing is, I
Sorry,
started...
wait. What did you just say?
I'm 52 years young, yeah.
Shut up. Are you kidding?
Smiling gets you.
I'm not joking. I don't know what one's allowed to say in 2022. Frankly, I couldn't give a shit. But here's the thing. I thought you were like 27, 28.
Oh, thank you so much.
You look absolutely fantastic. I'm going to say it.
Unbelievable. Every
Thank
woman
you.
watching this show
Thanks,
around the
Neil.
world is going, I hate her. I don't care. She's got a stupid name that I can't pronounce, and she looks like my granddaughter. I hate her.
Oh,
Wow. Nina,
yeah.
let me ask you this. You are
Sure.
you're an amazing person. An amazing person. I'm going to go out on a limb. We are putting together no, I'm going to email you later. I won't do it publicly.
Okay.
We're putting
No
it's something
worries.
that I would like you to get involved with.
Sure. No,
If you
no
would,
problem.
it would be a huge honor, and I'm using the word correctly, for
Yes, you
us
are.
at Men's Radio Station.
Thank you.
Now,
I appreciate
it's
you.
something very special I'm going to ask you. And not
How
even
did you escape the situation?
I
Because
want to just quickly ask something very quickly.
Sure.
May I, Neil? But then Neil's question is absolutely
your
great.
show, man.
No, it's our show,
Well,
Neil.
let's go.
I'm not like that.
Okay, hurry up.
Come on. Shut it, Long. Interesting way to start the week, Neil.
Yeah, whatever.
Nina, why is it that I'm going to try and walking on eggshells here?
Oh, please don't.
Killings.
I'm very raw and real.
No, not with you. With life. No, you. Within 10 seconds, I know we can say what we want. And no. I'm serious. We can have a proper grown-up conversation. Why is it that if it was an honor killing in any other religion or what, it was Judaism, if it was Roman Catholic, the police would be around in 3 seconds. You'd be banged up and you'd be seen for what you were, which is a disgusting thug. Why are these things dressed up and everyone pussyfoots around the outside? Like, you can't say anything. Like the groom. I'm sorry, but I'm going to lump it in, if you don't mind, with the grooming in Rotherham, which is disgusting.
It is, yeah.
We're talking about 1,400 girls here. We're not talking about a couple, 1,400 girls.
They're the ones that have come forward. There'll be a lot more.
Yeah, you can imagine. Yeah, I know. Why is it this has been allowed to grow?
So these mindsets have come from, wherever they were born, whether it be Iraq, whether it be China, whether it be African places, because it's very common in those places too. And even in South America, I've recently had conversations with a lady in Venezuela telling me, this exists there. It happened to my cousin. And it's all about how women and girls are perceived. So it's actually dressed up as the word honor killing, because they get less jail time because it's regarded as a cultural belief. But when I spoke at Scotland Yard recently, I said it's just another word for attempted murder. My parents wanted to murder me. They were trying to kill me, and I was threatened throughout childhood that I would be buried under the floorboards. And I will tell you now, there are children out there that are buried under the floorboards.
Good
and nobody will find them.
Christ. I'm sorry. And Neil's going to fade. I'm lost for words. I'm lost for words.
While you're lost for words, there's two things I want to ask. I want to know how you escaped it.
Sure.
Please. And also, really important, because 50% of the audience to this station are women as well. So this is a station for men's mental health, but obviously that includes all mental health, of course, as well. Look at you now. You're 52 years young. You look absolutely wonderful, vibrant. Joy is oozing out of you. Clearly, you're in a really good space at the moment. We'd love to know how you got there and how other people that might have suffered a lot less than you, but still struggle with mental health, may have a bit of what you've got.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to take it back right to the beginning, but I'm very quick with this because I've crafted it in such a way. The reason I'm going to
Nina,
do this
this isn't the BBC with some stupid soundbite. You take seriously. You take your time. You go at your own
time. It's your forum.
Sure. Yeah. No, the reason I'm going back to the beginning is, now that you've said there are women also listening, and also it's important for men to understand too. what other people go through so that they can make the change. Because I do believe that men often are the carriers of change with their actions too, and how to guide others. That's my personal belief. So I was brought up in an Asian background. My heritage is Indian, North India, Punjab, Sikh. The religion is Sikhism, but this culturally we don't practice anything that the religion tells us to. And I was sentenced literally to the four walls of my room from the age of 6. So I was only allowed out when I was asked to cook and clean. I was treated as a modern day slave. And literally a few words were spoken to me in the senses of...
Nina, can I just jump in? Because this is absolutely doing me in here. Was your mother complicit in this? Because we always hear in the West that it's the father, it's the uncle, it's the brother. But was your mum complicit in all this nightmare?
Yeah, completely. And they normally are, because mothers, people say it's often because they're afraid, but they also hold on to these beliefs and cultural crimes. They condone them. And I'll get to that in a little while. But so my mother was literally the one calling me, and it would be food, clean, come was the other one, just to come down, and I would be asked to mop up or whatever it was. But as a 6-year-old, you don't know any different. So you're super happy, that you've actually been called out the room. You think it's normality. I used to press my ear against the door to listen to what the others were doing. So my hearing sense was amazing. I could even recite television programs and really struggled to listen to Top of the Pops, but I desperately wanted to hear the music, because music carries that frequency of joy, doesn't it? It gets you on your feet and you sort of lose that inhibition that you've got. But life was quite normal for me. I enjoyed, as I said, school, even though I was picked upon because I was a person of colour. At that time, nobody really was. There were a lot of mods and skinheads around at that time, and they didn't like the colour of my skin, which was fine. It was just one of those things. But I went on to becoming growing up, and my father would often bring round his friends. They would come back after the pub, for food and drink, and it would be 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. I would be woken up to cook for them. And as soon as I would cook...
No.
Yeah, as soon as I would finish cooking, my job was then to stay and clean up afterwards. And I think that maybe Neil knows this, possibly. It's coming next, maybe not. And if this is going to trigger anyone that's listening, I'm going to give you a trigger warning, because there is quite a lot involved in my story. So I do warn you to, proceed with caution. If you are affected by anything, please reach out to me or anybody else that can help you. But at 14, I was horrifically raped by my father and his friends. I was literally thrown onto the table, onto the floor, and it lasted several hours, whereby there was not one part of my skin that wasn't cut or bruised or broken. And I lay literally in a bath of blood until I woke up, and I came round with my mother opening and closing the door because she was angry with me because of the mess. And my first instinctive thing was to clean up. That's the first thing I thought about, was to clean up. And I struggled, but I cleaned up, which led to a pregnancy, which my father arranged in a private place to be aborted. But by this time, I had lost myself. My happy little self had gone. I was no longer reading books in my room. I was very withdrawn at school, and nobody noticed. And after the abortion, the one thing I remember about the abortion isn't the process, all the coldness of what was being done. It was more that a lady had handed me a cup of tea as I sat on a lawn that they had in the back, and handed me a cup of tea. It was the first time anybody had showed me kindness by stroking my hair and giving me a biscuit. And I thought, wow, I'm so lucky that this lady's given me this biscuit. I just focused on this rich tea biscuit and wondering whether I should eat it or save it, because I was also deprived of food as a child. And that led to a trade between one of the perpetrators that had raped me and my father, because my father said, well, who will want you now? You've spoilt yourself. And as a 14, 15-year-old child...
You've spoiled yourself.
And this is the thing, because so many people who are victims of abuse, they take on the shame as if it's their own. And yeah, there is shame, but it ain't yours.
Nina, I'm not a violent person unless I'm really, really, really pushed. Your story, my stomach is knotted up, and I want to get a baseball bat, find your father, and beat the living shit out of him. I actually do, and I'm not
I
like
actually
I'm not.
love my
Neil known me.
father.
Neil's known me for
Yeah.
30 years, and I'd do the same to your mother as well. But
I wouldn't be sat here if it wasn't for them, so I have nothing but love for them, and forgiveness is the key, in my opinion,
are you
to complete
serious?
happiness.
We're going to need to talk about this because
I
this is
hate
what
them, and I absolutely. I'm in a blind
the thing is,
fury
though. It
thinking
raises
this.
something really important when it comes to mental health because people misunderstand forgiveness, and I'm not always good at practicing it, but I do know a good working definition is letting go of the pain that holds you back in the world, letting go of the pain that other people caused you. You do it for yourself, not for them.
Completely. And would I
That's
be
the
this
thing.
person?
I heard enlightened self-interest was a good
Mm,
definition I heard.
that's beautiful, actually. Now, would I be this person? Would I be this happy person that's able to reach out to a young child who's being treated badly, or a young woman that's been raped, or someone that's going through domestic violence, or someone that's been homeless? I've survived all of those things. No, I wouldn't. So, do I love who I am? Completely. I love this person
Well,
I am
so do
because I
we. So
I
do
have
we. In
so
just
much
20 minutes, we do.
I have so
You're
much
freaking
ability.
incredible,
But I
Nina.
have
This is a question from Paul Rose. I have to
yeah,
read it
sure.
out because of Deluxe
Okay.
Radio. They can't see it. Paul's saying, "Did anyone face criminal charges for this horrific act?"
Sure. So Paul, when I eventually got away from the honor killing, what had happened was I was forced into a marriage to one of the perpetrator's sons as a sham marriage. It wasn't real. It was because had an English girlfriend, so a girlfriend out of our culture. So the son was allowed to see his girlfriend. I was married there for domestic servant duties and also for sexual services to the father-in-law that had now become my father-in-law, one of the perpetrators.
Dear God.
So my father's friend raped me, abused me for 4 whole years until I got to an age where I said I can't deal with this because they were tying me up with metal coat hangers and leaving me naked just as a punishment in case I escaped. And the fear, which is the key word here, the fear that is instilled within young women and most young women and some boys too and men, but mostly girls, we are instilled with nothing but fear. So the fear of even crying and being caught crying, I wouldn't cry. I was so scared.
And the fact
Um,
that you were grateful, I picked up on this, for a cup of tea and a rich tea biscuit. It was like most horrendous things were normalized. So something like that seemed extraordinary, stuff that most of us would take for granted.
it's one huge thing I
Was a
remember.
really big deal for you. Just the
Yeah.
scraps of life were a big deal for you, right?
If I'm being
Nina, we have had thousands of guests on men's
Mm.
radio and women's radio, and this is just extraordinary and so upsetting, uplifting. I don't even know which way my head's going to go. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, which may seem a little strange. These utter pieces of filth who are doing this to you, what do they do in real life? What jobs do they have? Who are they in what quotes our society?
My father is an entrepreneur. He owns a lot of pubs and houses. He's on the property ladder and he's done really, really well for himself considering he didn't have an education. He was also a professional wrestler, so he fought in the days of Giant Haystacks, Big Daddy, along those greats.
Yeah.
And I was lucky actually to be allowed to go and watch one of his fights when I was a child.
It's a shame you didn't get the crap beaten out of him, but never mind.
So you were saying, because Paul asked if they faced criminal charges.
Yeah, sure. I was getting to that. Yes, of course. So when I did leave the arranged marriage and I went back home, that's when I was beaten for leaving the arranged marriage because I'd broken the unspoken codes of conduct that you don't leave a marriage. You stay there, you die there. But I left predominantly because I couldn't deal with the torture, and also in the 1990s, brides were being burnt. They were being having petrol set upon them and they were set light, and the police would come and the police would say, well, we can't do anything about it. And I could hear these because
Sorry,
we lived
why? This
in
is what
terraced
drives
houses.
everybody mad, and then you're all called. Then you're called a racist or a fascist. The police come round. Someone's had. Sorry, I'm getting really annoyed.
It's
Somebody's
okay.
had petrol poured on them, and the police said, "There's nothing we can do about it." What? But
Well,
you stray into a freaking bus lane for 10 feet, and they won't piss off for months.
I said
Park on a
something
double
very-
yellow line. They're pathetic.
I said
They are
I said
pathetic.
something very similar when I went to Scotland Yard, and they did invite me back, so I must have said something right.
They're a disgrace.
Well, the thing
Was
is
it
that
because that kind of thing was considered a domestic and they couldn't deal with it
it
then?
was
What, pouring
considered
petrol on people and setting them alight, Neil? Come on.
it was considered a suicide.
Oh.
It was considered a suicide.
Yeah.
Do these
I mean,
people, do these policemen have
how
any
you
training?
can pour petrol upon yourself to that extent and set yourself alight is beyond me. But I did hear some of the girls screaming, and that was causing me a lot of anxiety at that time. I was 19, 20 years old. I was extremely fearful for my life, and I didn't want to
So it
die,
was just believed in the police community that there was a spate of suicides in young Asian
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
by
They are as
suicide by
thick as
petrol.
shit. I'm just going to say it, and I'm saying what everybody else around the world. They're as thick as shit, and they're absolute disgrace.
I think it's complicated for them to get involved with
Well,
certain
make a little
cultures.
effort then. That's their bloody job.
Well, the whole point of me going in was to try and explain to them this is how it feels, not facts. Let's go talk about feelings and reality, and this is how it is for us. If we haven't got anybody to go to, nobody's there to help us within our community. If we don't have the police either, then where do we go? And that was my main concept, really. But going back to the question
I
of my
tell you where we
father.
go, Nina. I tell you where we
Okay.
go. And I've said this for a very long time, and I genuinely feel it would be coming. Nature abhors a vacuum. And when the police are just seen as dancing around at festivals and endlessly on stupid, courses about bullshit instead of actually solving crime, the public think eventually people will form vigilante gangs, which is the last thing we want. It's the last thing we want. But I would have 100% sympathy had a vigilante gang gone into that house and beaten the living crap out of all the people who did those disgusting things to you. I'd have no sympathy for them whatsoever. They would have got what they'd fully deserved.
No, I understand where you're coming from, Russ. It's a slight frustration, I understand, but I do believe in.
How are you? What are you, like God or something, Nina? How can you? I've never met you before. We've never spoken before. I'm in a blind rage listening to this. I mean, this isn't like me at all. I'm not this guy, and I'm so furious. But you're like, yes, it's slightly frustrating. I mean,
so we're going to come on to that in a minute. So you eventually got away.
Yeah. So you asked me how I got away. That was one of your questions. I tried to get on my hands and knees and crawl, but my hip was broken, and as I said, a lot of my shoulder was broken too. But I eventually told myself that if I didn't go now, there would be no later. I couldn't stand at the airport and ask for security for help. I wouldn't have the guts. If I had one parent on one side and another parent on the other, or a brother, I would be too scared to say, help me. So I ended up crawling, falling. And eventually I got to my back door, where my dog then came and stood next to me. And I do feel that pets, animals really have this sense of understanding when someone's in pain. And she just looked at me. She was a massive German Shepherd, and I just looked at her. And I had this huge 6-foot fence to get over, and I didn't know how I was going to get over it because my father had literally built this fortress. But I knew I had to. And somehow I managed to get over it and fall onto the other side. And then I literally crawled on the street, on the road, into a park, which was just opposite my parents' house. And I passed out into the bushes, and they never found me because they were never meant to find me. That was my thing. I was supposed to get away. And in the early hours when I did wake up, the world was asleep, and I felt very calm, strangely. I made my way to a taxi rank. The taxi driver took one look at me and was shocked. He said, I needed to get to the hospital. I said, no, I need to get to this address. I have friends that said they would help me because I didn't know any better. I said, I haven't got any money, but they will pay you. He said, is somebody after you? I said, my parents are trying to kill me. He put me onto his back seat and covered me up with a blanket. And I was very lucky to have somebody who was so caring, because he could have turned out to be something totally different. And he got me to where I was wanting to go to. But when I got there, my friend wasn't there. And it was 7 o'clock in the morning now, and there was nobody there. And across the road was a police station. I walked in, spoke to this policeman, really friendly guy called PC Pete. Still remember his name. He took lots of photos. And then came the question, how did this happen? And I said, my parents are trying to kill me in an honour killing. And he said, oh dear, let's get you to hospital first. and I stayed in hospital for a few months. Nobody asked me how my injuries were sustained.
A
No
few
one.
months? Hang on.
A few
Whoa.
months.
I know this is stuff that you know backwards, but we're hearing it for the first time. You were in hospital for several months.
Just a couple of months, 2 months.
Yeah, well, you know, for me, being in hospital 24 hours is enough. And no one said, how did this happen?
None of the nurses asked me. I was
Well, what the
treated
hell did they
almost.
think had happened?
Oh, well, I was almost treated like there was something wrong with me, and I thought that there was something wrong with me. So why did I question it? I didn't know I could ask for help. And girls don't know that they can say
Jeez.
that they can be honest and say, I need help. This is what's just happened.
This is so important, and I'm really going to touch on this very strongly in just a moment. But please finish your story.
So I went from there to my friend's house. My friend had disappeared because she'd split up with her boyfriend, but I knew her boyfriend from work. He said, you can stay here if you pay rent. I said, I'm not really in a position to work, but I'll find a job as soon as I can. And he got me drunk one night because I'd never drank before in my life. I had Malibu, never drank it again, and took advantage of me, and I got pregnant with my daughter.
You are kidding me.
It was probably the best thing that happened.
This is your friend's boyfriend?
Well, they split up, yeah. Yeah, but still.
I don't know what to say.
Now, the gentleman that asked the question about my father, whether they were pressed, you know, I
Paul Rose.
charges,
yeah, did he face criminal charges?
I didn't press charges. Nobody really enabled me to have that, and also I became very frightened. As soon as I'd had a daughter, they were after me again, trying to find me to kill her. They tried to abduct her. They put on some wigs, some different type of outfits, trying to be somebody they weren't. Offered the landlord a lot of money back then. You know, we're going back 29 years, and they offered him over £5,000 just to tip them off when I was around. They didn't.
The guy who got you pregnant? Do you mean?
No. My father. No, he was just. He was renting from somebody. So the people that were actually renting to him, the landlord and landlady, they were approached by my father and brothers saying that.
Are these all Indian people, or what? Who are all these people? Are they all in this together? What's the story?
Well, the landlord was Indian, but he didn't tell them where I was. He said that he thought I'd moved away because he knew they were after my daughter. And he didn't feel it was the right thing to do. And I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush. You know, not everybody that's from my culture is bad, or from the African or Middle East or whichever culture condones this behavior. Not everyone is bad within that. We get good and bad in everywhere. So, but they didn't give me in, so to speak. And I lived in fear again. But I ended up living with this, and I am getting to the answer to this question, but I have to go down this sort of process. I didn't press charges. I didn't know how to. I lived in fear. I ended up having 4 children with this gentleman because I thought he was helping me. And also my culture, if you have a child.
Hang on, the ex-boyfriend of your idiot friend,
yeah,
who was useless,
so he became
my
partner.
kids with him.
I did, yeah. But one of my sons.
After, hang on, whoa. So you had 4 kids with him after he'd taken advantage of you by getting you drunk on Malibu.
Yeah, I didn't know.
How did you think that was a good idea?
Well, the thing is, I had a child, and in my culture, if you have a child with someone, you stay with them. You don't leave. You don't have children with anyone else,
irrespective of how that child was conceived.
But I had no self-worth when I was 22,
well,
23.
This is the thing. You didn't have anywhere to go to. You didn't know you could ask for help, and your mind had been so programmed that even that a rich tea biscuit seemed like an incredible treat, and someone taking advantage of you, you framed as helping you because you simply didn't know any better. And I guess that's how these people,
he knew
wanted it.
Yeah. But he knew that I was somebody that had very low self-worth. He also knew I was extremely good at making money, so he didn't want to let go of me. When I got pregnant with my 3rd child, he was very violent person. And looking back, I do say to myself, why didn't you see it? But you don't when you're stuck in that situation.
Yeah,
it's like a gambling addiction or an alcohol addiction. You don't see it until you step away or you actually admit it to yourself. And maybe I didn't want to admit it to myself. I was raising 3 children at the time, but my 3rd pregnancy led to him being very angry with me because he was having extramarital affairs. He didn't really want to be with me, but he wanted the money. He wanted that lifestyle I was providing. I was doing very well. I was a millionaire by this stage, and he pushed me down the stairs.
Whoa. You've gone through all the... Sorry, how?
I got into the mobile phone industry when it first started. I ran down the stairs after this gentleman who was talking about mobile phones in the shop that was near where I rented, and I was in the newsagents, and I heard him talking about it, went up the stairs and thought, hold on, I need to ask him another question. And I ran after him, and he stood at his car, and I said, I want to work with you. And he said, no, you don't know anything about phones. And then I ended up going to a phone box, because we didn't have phones in our houses then, going through the yellow pages, finding his number, and eventually he gave in to me because I was very persistent. I had a child, I wanted to provide for her. The father wasn't working, so I wanted to give her the best.
So he was just, not only did he rape you with Malibu, he wasn't working either.
No, he wasn't working.
He's a piece of work.
I wanted to give her everything I didn't have, especially her being
Nina,
a girl.
do you see the enormous chasm? And I'm going to say this, and I'm not sure if anyone's ever said this to you before. Do you see the chasm between you walking from one horrific nightmare to another absolute nightmare, hooking up with someone who's obviously repulsive, and yet having the ability and the smarts and the mental capacity to suddenly become a millionaire through mobile phones? Do you see how they don't join up?
Actually, I was a people pleaser. So I'm pleasing
but one's
him.
business acumen and very smart and worldly, and one is, what the hell is going on with this poor... But do you understand why I don't see that I can't marry the two together?
Maybe, but then maybe it's more of a case of providing. I was the provider. I saw myself as the provider. Even as a child, I saw myself as the feeder, the person that would go and provide for everyone's health and what, in their sense. And I was doing my father's accounting books and ordering drinks from the brewery when I was probably 8, 9 years old, because I spoke very well. So maybe that was also instilled in me, and what a gift to have from my father. I see it that, I saw him creating wealth out of nothing, and he was very entrepreneurial. So regardless of what he has and hasn't done, I could take away the positives, and I did take them away to create this mindset that I have, which is maybe why I'm a mindset coach now.
So are they dead? With any luck, are your parents dead, or are they still alive?
They're still alive.
They're still alive. So why is it now you feel that it's okay to come on with me and Neil and tell everything?
Yeah. So
why are they not? Why are these absolute scum of the earth not coming after you now?
Okay.
What's the deal?
Oh, they are. I have death threats from LinkedIn. I have death threats from family members, especially the Middle East, people wanting to behead me, because
they're always nice. They're always nice over there.
The highest form of retaining honor, because in our cultures, we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about being raped because it's almost a stigma for us. But I know that if we talk about it,
we just sell them arms, Nina. That's what we do. We sell them billions of pounds worth of arms. That's what we do.
But I'm hoping, and I am actively taking away the power that they hold by speaking out, and I know that they won't kill me, and I say that quite adamantly, because
why do you feel so confident?
Because they will create a martyr. My message will be huge then.
But they're raving lunatics. I don't think are they even capable of doing the thought process, oh, we're going to create a martyr? Because to me, I'm not going to say animals, because I love animals. I think they're despicable.
I think so. The fear is gone. So the threats just tell me I'm doing something right. The fear is no longer there.
Now, I have to ask you, because I know you've written a book as well, and we want to hear all about that. And look at you. You're vibrant. You're glowing. It doesn't marry up with someone that's had a backstory such as yours. You're able to take the positives. There's gratitude. There's love. I've heard you use the word frequency. This all sounds very spiritual to me. There's obviously a spirituality thing going on here, right?
Yeah. So I just want to get to why I spoke out. What happened with my father. When I became homeless I was homeless 6 years ago because of domestic violence. My ex-partner tried to kill both my youngest son and myself.
But were you not a millionaire by this point?
I was.
So
but
how can you be a millionaire then you're homeless?
Sure. So everything's in assets. So when I left, the police told me not to take anything, not even a bank card, because he could trace me. It was a very high level murder attempt, but because we couldn't prove anything and the laws changed after I left, I wasn't able to press charges against him. I was given non-molestation orders and a preferential treatment for my safety and my son's. But if you are not working, or if you have not enough money in your bank account, then you can get help from the government and be housed. But if you have assets, which is what I had over £1 million worth of property, and also machinery, because I was in the rag trade at that time. I was providing solutions for people wanting to print some big, massive print machines that are worth 250,000 each. I was then not allowed to get the help, but I couldn't go and sell a machine or sell a property or even access my bank accounts because they were joint, and my partner was just taking everything out. So I had no way of getting any money. My daughter was at university. She couldn't really help me. She tried to, and she actually failed a year trying to help me. But luckily she was allowed to stay on. And my other son I'd put into boarding school and paid up front for the boarding school, thinking if something happens, at least I'll have a position. So it was just me and my youngest son. During that year, this is the important part, the police found me to talk to me, and I didn't know why they wanted me. I thought maybe it was my ex-partner had brought up some sort of fabricated lie of what I'd done or not done. But it was to tell me that they needed a character reference for my father. And I was very confused. They told me that my father had had an affair with a Polish lady, an Eastern European lady, and had a child. And that child was a girl. She was 6 years old. She's my half sister. And he abducted her.
Take your time, Nina. Please take your time. Do you want a moment?
No. He abducted her when she was 6 by getting the mother drunk, and he took her to several places in Europe before he took her to India and sold her to traffickers. The place where he sold her, I later on found out, is a place where they harvest organs. At the time, I was told he just took her to India, and I said to them, he's taken her there to kill her. That's what they were going to do to me. It's an honor killing that he has done to save face. He was charged and imprisoned, but he left the prison cell as a criminal, and he was received by the community as a hero, because to the community he had upheld the honor of his family and also the community by doing such an act.
So let me ask you this, Nina. I'm sorry, but I'm going to go straight to the jugular with this. We're always being lectured about inclusivity and diversity. How the hell are we supposed to have anything in common with raving lunatics like this?
Great question.
They are raving lunatics. They do not have anything.
Like
I'm sorry, I'm going to say, they wouldn't say it on the BBC, God forbid. They have nothing in common with the rest of the people in the United Kingdom. Everybody around the world listening to your story is horrified and furious and full of love for you. You're amazing. How are we supposed to be inclusive with these nutcases? They're disgusting. They're disgusting. They have no moral compass whatsoever. They are perverted. They're appalling.
We don't have to understand them. We just have to try and explain to the younger generation this is wrong.
But this is going to be perpetrated.
This centuries-old honor-killing belief, this belief system that girls are not wanted, we need to change the mindsets of the men and say to the men...
But your mother was complicit in this. Your mother was completely in the middle of this.
If my mother had married a caring, loving man towards her and the children, she would have been a different person herself. So the girls in the new generation, these girls that are the old Ninas, as I call them, the new Ninas that are still living my old life, they don't want this life. They know a different way.
I mean, before the end of this, I'm going to ask you where the resources are, where people can go. And obviously, you're doing a lot of work in this field, you and other wonderful people like you. But you seem so healed, and I want to know how you did it. There's a spiritual component, isn't there? Can you touch a little on that? How can you be? Because I know I find this, even though I've studied plenty on spirituality, how you can be exuding such love for perpetrators such as this. I can't get my head around that. So please tell us what your relationship to.
We have a mutual friend called Mark Jarrett, and he
was on the show last week.
Yeah, he was on your show last week. Yeah. I listened.
Yeah, he's a good lad.
He's lovely. But he said to me, Nina, you've weaponized love. And I said, I have, but to disarm people, not to hurt them. My whole process is that I am love, and I love each person listening. I love you. I don't need to know you to love you, but I can give you that
Could we at
extension of
least
love.
have coffee first, Nina? I'm sorry, I'm an old-fashioned guy with
Oh,
great respect.
behave. I can
And
only
I
apologise for
see. I
him.
don't understand that. I don't go around going. I
I
love
do.
everybody. I
I
don't
say
love
that to
everybody
everyone,
at all.
and I hug everyone because that extension of love is within me. Because I'm literally up to the brim full of love, and if I cannot share that, then what's the point me having it?
And
And when
also, hatred of any kind is very bad for you. That's been proven by science, isn't it? So this is what I touched on earlier. Forgiveness is not about saying, "Oh, what they did is perfectly all right. Come and walk all over me again and mistreat me." That is not forgiveness. It's not for wimps. It's nothing to do with that. It's more releasing the pain so you can fill up with love and be more of your true self.
Does
Right?
anybody watching and listening
Enlightened
to this
self-interest.
show, anybody watching and listening to this show all around the world, not feel that Nina has absolutely every right to hate the perpetrators of this endless cluster, you know what, of a nightmare? Because I hate them. I
but
hate them.
okay, so I discovered myself a couple of years ago. I do a lot of grounding work, which means I stand on the grass with no shoes on. I believe Mother Nature is my mother. I believe Mother Nature heals us and cures us, and everything we need is within the soil of this earth, completely. That's where I've come from. That's where I'll end up. I was listening and thinking to that. I was listening just to the environment. I have a lot of birds in my garden. I'm very blessed. And I started to understand that everything that everyone had told me, that I was too fat, too ugly, too outspoken, too determined to succeed, was all their opinion. That who did I want to be? Who did Nina want to be? Nina always wanted to be an author. She always read books in her room when she was in that room. That's what kept her sane, I guess. I had books that were my friends, I named them, I played with them. I even slept on books because I didn't have a pillow. So what did Nina want to be? Nina wanted to be everything that all of these people weren't. Nina wanted to give love. Nina wanted to lift people. Nina wanted to save people. She wanted to extend this love to every person so that they could find this freedom. And that's what I became. Why do I coach UFC fighters? Because I've been knocked down. I have been knocked down over and over and over again in life. And everyone listening, and yourselves too. Russ, you would have been knocked down, and Neil, you would have been knocked down in life. We all
I've
get
been
knocked
knocked
down.
out. I've not. This isn't
But it's how
theoretical, Nina. I haven't had a charmed life. Nothing like yours.
No, but it's
Thank
how you
God.
decide.
Not that I believe in it,
It's
but
how you
thank you.
decide to get up from there. It's what you decide
You see, the
you
difference
want to
between
make
you and
of it.
me, if I'd have found these UFC fighters, I would have gone straight up to Leicester. No, I'm not joking. I would
I know
have
you're
got
not.
them. I would have got all of them.
You're really not,
I
are
would
you?
have. I'm not
It doesn't.
joking
It
at
wouldn't.
all. I'd have gone with my mate Ray. Ray and I would have gone up with the UFC fighters, and these guys would
It
regret
wouldn't.
the
It
day
would.
they were born.
But it wouldn't equate to anything. You'd rub metal against metal. Nothing comes of it. And there's the
You
laws
do.
of
You get a
duality.
spark. You get a spark if you rub metal against metal. That's what you
But
get.
what will that spark create? Friction.
It would
More
create a
friction.
fire that might send a warning out to these other disgusting people.
I
So
do
that's
understand.
you see, there's no consequences for these people.
No, I
There's no
understand.
consequences for the people who raped in Rotherham 1,400 little girls that we know of. There's no
No,
consequences.
I'm not condoning bad behavior. And one of the things I say is if you don't say something and do something, even a discreet call, if you see a child being treated badly or molested, then you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. I completely want to hold everyone accountable. So nothing my father or my ex-partner has done, or my mother or my family, I am condoning, not at all. All I'm
No.
saying is that they did only as they knew, because to them, it was their cultural belief. It was what they believed was right. We know it's not right. I don't have to understand people's behavior because I'm not them. But what I can do, what's within my power, is to spread awareness, to give love, to talk about mental health, because a lot of men that become violent and angry, it's because they're in a situation they don't want to be in, whether it's themselves that have been forced into an arranged marriage, or even in a marriage they don't want to stay in, whether it's arranged or not. A lot of that, my ex-partner was angry all the time because he didn't want to be with me. I wasn't his person.
That's
He
not
thought
an
Yeah.
excuse,
And you talk
Nina.
about love, a
Nina,
corollary.
I'm sorry. This is like an excuse. They don't have an excuse to behave like
it's
this.
not an excuse.
It's
I'm trying. If you can
inexcusable.
understand a situation and get that person to understand it themselves, they understand they also
Well,
have
how
a
are you going to
choice.
break this culture? And we're not allowed to because it's all fabulous and magnificent and wonderful.
There
How
are
are you going to
beautiful
break this
aspects of
culture
my
then?
culture. There are. but the parts of it that are not so beautiful are the ones I'm speaking about. So how am I going to make a change? I am making a change by speaking out. When people hear my story, because I just say it as it is, I've got no filters in that respect. I want people to feel it. I want them to go away and feel how I felt, so that they can also say to themselves, so and so that works with me, he's of the same culture. I'm going to discuss it with him. And when they discuss it with him, maybe he'll understand as well that, am I like that with my daughter? I don't want to be that person. And he will then take steps.
Or is he going to go around to his mates and say, "There's a lippy woman with a big gob. We better give her a right pasting"? Because that's all I can feel from this.
Yeah, but even if I reach 1 out of 100, it's still a start. It's this. I feel like I'm pushing a huge snowball up a very difficult mountain, but I know that when I get to the top of the mountain, it's not to push the snowball back down. It's that mountain will dissolve. It will just literally, and there'll be lots of other Ninas like me standing with me, and not just Ninas, because the power is actually within the men in my community. They're the ones that hold that power of change. So if by me reaching out to them and saying, stand with me, can I have your support? I get a lot of people saying no, and I write to a lot of people saying, you're an influence in our community. Would you support me? And they're not always replying, or they're saying, what?
Are they scared? Are they scared by these ghastly monsters?
If they stand with me, they become a target as well in the community. So
if men's radio station stands with you, are we going to become targets from these scum?
Unlikely, because you're not of my culture. But if you were, then most definitely.
So if we had Indian presenters or Indian directors, which we just don't because it hasn't worked out, right?
Yeah.
They'd be at risk, but me, Penny and Howard, my two co-directors, we wouldn't be at risk. Would Neil be at risk?
No, Neil won't be at risk.
He's a white boy. That's why. Let's just call it.
So it's
why don't we say that? Nina, I want to say something. And we're not allowed to say this anymore. We live in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
We are all subject to the laws of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
All of us. Why? And this gets me. If you're Catholic, you're still subject to the laws. If you're Jewish, you're Protestant, you're still subject to the laws. There's no wiggle room here. This
but that's where we're
whole cultural thing is a disgrace. But there's only one law. That is the law of the land. That's the law of the United Kingdom. Everybody should be subject to it.
I would like everyone that's listening to actually watch my TED Talk, because in my TED Talk I do say there needs to be stricter sanctions imposed. If you know that you're going to have your hand chopped off in Saudi Arabia, you don't steal anything, you wouldn't even consider it because of the consequences are so intense. Now, if we can change the word honor killing to murder, then they will know also that they will be held accountable.
I don't know why it's not done. Why is it not done? Why isn't that one of the first things that should be done? It should be legislation, the word honor. I mean, all the words we're not allowed to use, God forbid, anymore. And this bullshit term, honor killings, as you say, there's nothing honorable about it. It's murder.
It is nothing but murder.
So why is the legislative powers not doing it? I'm so angry about this. Nina.
Have you spoken to anyone in government?
Yeah, there are other agencies. There are quite a few non-profits that have gone into Parliament, and there are stricter laws being placed and everything. But this is where Nina gets a little bit controversial as well. A lot of these non-profits don't do anything. They like to have the authoritative signatory that I am a non-profit and I'm fighting for women's rights, but really they have the same sort of, because if you're Indian, there is a lot of racism within being an Indian, and they carry that forward. So this whole new word that I keep hearing of South Asian women, it doesn't make sense to me because I'm just a woman. I'm not necessarily South Asian. I'm born and bred in the United Kingdom, but I do identify as a British Indian or a British Asian. Now, that doesn't mean that if I'm talking about domestic violence, it's only for that narrative, that only that small section. It's for anybody. I'm speaking about mental health for men. It doesn't mean just mental health in young black men or young Indian men. It's for everybody. I'm trying to get everyone to understand we're one.
So, Nina, do you see that all of this divisiveness, one, is orchestrated, number one. And do you see how the so-called liberal media are pushing an agenda which is 100% bullshit and based on nonsense, and they won't address the facts or the truth. This has been one of the most powerful conversations on men's radio we've ever had, and trust me, we've had some really, really deep ones.
Thank you.
This is extraordinary.
People don't want to change things because they
No,
themselves.
we do. No, I
No,
think
not
people
when I
like
say
me and Neil
people.
and everybody, all the thousands of people watching and listening all over the world, they're in horror at this. What you've said,
Well, no.
absolute
When
horror.
I say people, people in authorities don't want to change things, especially in the trafficking
No,
side.
why? Because they fear they're going to lose the Asian vote. Let's
Well, it's
call
like
it. Let's be
I think
honest about it. That's why. They
Alexandra just said it's a political fear, it's a disgrace, and she's completely right.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And this is all part because the politicians are gutless. Gutless.
Have we got time for you to tell us about your book? Because I'm sure you've written all these. You've obviously done a lot of healing. You've got a lot of insights. You put all in a book, haven't you? So let's hear about.
I didn't write about me. I didn't write about my story. Everyone wanted me to write it. I wanted to help other people the way I'd help myself. I do have a copy of it here. It's called, for those people that can't see it, it's called Master Your Life.
Yep.
And it's basically a story that covers.
Hang on. We love self-promotion. Hold it up again and keep it. There we are. Right into your lens, if you'd be so sweet. There we go. Master Your Life.
Live the life of your dreams.
Okay.
Which I'm doing. I'm actually doing that. So I want other people to do that. And it talks about money to start with. First chapter's about money because we all need money, whatever it's for. We need money. So it tells you how to make it. Excuse me. Losing my voice.
That's okay.
So it tells you where you might be going wrong, making money. It talks about family and the difficulties of family often and loving family from afar, which is what I'm doing. It tells you how to cope with relationships. There's a chapter on self-love, which is my favourite, obviously. And COVID. Coping with COVID, which is something we're still going through.
Yeah. I love the fact, by the way, to digress.
I'm going to go to Amazon and get a copy at 1 o'clock.
To digress for 3 seconds. First, everything that's shit. Oh, it's all COVID. Every corporation now. Everything that's shit. It's all Putin. These people are just hopeless because they haven't got a clue how to run a blooming country or a company. That's why.
And I reckon in your book, there's not going to be any blame. It's all going to be self-development. It's an inside-out job because even money is a mindset. Money and abundance in particular. It's mindset mastery more than anything else, isn't it? So it all fits that you're a mindset coach. I think you're amazing, Nina.
Thank you.
I believe
in the laws of the universe. I believe when I met the UFC fighters, I had come to London for a bit of a break. Somebody had invited me to a networking meeting. I'm going through my 20s now because I never did them. So I'm still sort of experiencing, I went to Starbucks for the first time this year and my friend who's a radio
Get you, Nina, living the dream.
I think we're all still reliving our 20s. I'm trying to anyway.
It was exciting because I had my name written on the cup. So
Nina, I've got I've got 2 minutes left. So I'm going to
I was
going to email you, but I'm going to put you on the spot. And Neil doesn't know anything about this.
Oh, God, Neil.
We, myself, Howard and Penny, who created all of this, men's and women's, are creating an advisory board of very, very special people to be on our advisory board. And I would be honored if you would consider being the first person to say yes for our advisory board.
Why not? Yes, definitely. Why not? Of course.
There you go. That's how strongly I feel that you can affect change.
Thank you so much. I'm very honoured that you should ask. I do want to say,
don't
just
use the word honour anymore. It's a completely besmirched
no, but
word.
using it in the right way. Just before I do go, I want to also say that my daughter and myself, we're just getting it registered now, but we started a non-profit called endhonourkillings.org. So if people want to just find out more about what we do, and if anyone is in trouble, they can reach out to me. I have helped quite a few people escape some very difficult situations in the UK. A couple of weeks ago, we helped a 15-year-old escape from near Manchester. She was being forced into a marriage to her cousin, and now she's living with a foster family, and she's very, very happy and very, very grateful to be able to do what she wants to do. Sometimes we're not that lucky. One of the girls that was reaching out to me committed suicide, and I learned about that recently. So there's not enough of us really to go around sometimes, but just kindness is a huge thing. So if you see somebody from a different culture. Don't make judgments always. Sometimes we're in a situation we're not supposed to be in.
And
but
here's
life's
another
happened
thing, because
there.
we're winding up the show. Here's another thing,
Sure.
just to take away from this. You think you're having a shit day because like the plumber's 10 minutes late, or you know, something like that. Just think about Nina's story, and that you're a remarkable human being. I don't know what else to say.
Thank you.
Absolutely remarkable. I'd
Well,
be thrilled. So now you're on our board. And secondly, if you and your daughter would like to come back, because I know Neil would absolutely endorse that, and have a conversation with us in a few weeks, that would be fantastic.
Amazing.
Would that be
Thank
possible?
you.
We got to go. That's it. Nina,
Thank you, Nina.
one of the most
Thank you.
extraordinary guests I've
Sending
ever had the
love.
pleasure
What an amazing woman.
of meeting. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. I'm going to have a lie down. Bye, gang.
Sending love.